Hello everybody, welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to add custom grabbable VR objects in Unity. So last we left off, we were here in this sample scene and we managed to send it over to the headset and play around with it. But today we're going to start trying to make our own kind of scenes with our own stuff and not rely so much on the stuff that was pre-made for us. So how we're going to start is by going over here into our Assets tab, going into the Scenes folder, and then opening up this basic scene. And the basic scene is basically a basic scene. It's a giant flat pane with a light source and the VR rig. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to add our own model into Unity. And how we're going to do that is we're going to go back into this assets thing, make our own folder. We're going to call it 3D models. And you can name this whatever you want. It just needs to be something to store your 3D models in, or you can just dump it in the main thing. This is just for organizational purposes. So from here, what I'm going to do is come over here into my downloads folder and find my object. So I recommend using a .obj file because that has kind of the cleanest mesh system, and we're going to use, that's going to be important because we're going to use that to determine collision later. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to drag it into this 3D models folder, and it'll add itself in, which is great. And how we're going to put it into our scene is just by opening this folder, finding our object, here it is, clicking it, and just dragging it in. And as you can see, it is a little big. So we're going to fix that. And how we go about that is with these tools over here. We have our Move tool, which is already selected. We have our Rotate tool, which rotates things, as you could expect. And we have our Scale tool, which lets us scale stuff. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to scale this way down. That seems small enough. So from here, I'm just going to grab my Move tool. And I'm going to bring it down over into the center where our camera rig is so that we can see it as we're testing. Let's just move over here, move it over here, and move it just a little bit back. Okay. So from here, what we need to do is make this into a physics object. And there's two components to that, the rigid body and the collider. So the first thing that we need to check is to make sure that the object that we're going to have it collide with also has a collider set up. So we're going to click on this because this is what we're going to have it fall onto. And it has a mesh collider, which is what we want to see. And what the mesh collider does is it checks to see if another object is hitting it, and if it is hitting it, it'll make something happen. In this case, stop it from passing through it. So now we're going to go over to our cool cat, and we're going to add a collider to it, because in order for two objects to collide with one another, they need to both have a collider. So we're going to add a mesh collider, and a mesh collider uses the mesh of the model to detect whether or not it's colliding with something. You can also use a box collider or a sphere collider if you're just trying to do more simple collisions, but since we're kind of wanting to have like a more interactable objects and like grabbing experience, we're going to go with the mesh collider. So the first thing that we're going to want to do to set this up is come over to our model and find this, right? This little grid signifies that it's the mesh file for our 3D model. So we're going to click on our model to bring this menu back. We're going to click but not release on this, and we're going to drag it over here to this mesh tab. And as you can see, it'll change it to be the default mesh, and our cat will glow green with the mesh. So that's cool. But if we press play right now, nothing's going to happen because we just added a collider to it. So it'll tell when something's colliding with it, but it's not going to move or anything. In order to change that, we need to add a rigid body. And what a rigid body is basically a script attached to the model that says this is a physics object, it needs to fall, right? And so you can adjust its mass, whether it's affected by gravity, and its collision detection. And so this is important. You got to come in here, change the collision detection from discrete to continuous dynamic. And what that's going to do is it's going to constantly check every single frame whether it's touching something, and if it is touching something, it'll stop it from falling through it. So last thing we need to do, the collision detection does not work with a concave mesh, which is what it's set to right now. So what we need to do is we need to come over here and we need to click this convex checkbox. And what that's going to do is it's going to invert the mesh so that it's on the outside instead of on the inside, kind of. If you have a more complicated mesh like there is on this funny cat, it might take a second to process. So while this loads, I'm going to click pause so you guys don't have to sit here watching it with me. Alrighty, now that it's done loading, what should happen if we press this play button is the cat should fall, hit the ground, and everything should be great. And just like that, the cat fell, hit the ground, and everything's great. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to make it grabbable. And the way we do that is by adding an XR grab interactable to the object. And basically what this does is it just lets the VR kind of rig controller know that it's an object that it's allowed to grab and move towards it and manipulate and things like that. So how we're going to do that is we're going to click this add component button and we're going to type in XR grabbable, and you're going to click this XR grab interactable button. And what you're going to do from here is come down here and use this dynamic attach checkbox and click that. And what that's just going to do is make it so that when you grab it, it grabs it where you grabbed it, and it doesn't like automatically snap it to like the center of your hand or something like that. So after all that is done, what you're going to do is do Control S to save your scene, and then we're going to need to change some settings in our scene builder so that it's only building this scene and not that sample scene anymore. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go over to File, and we're going to go over to Build Profiles, and over here you can see this scene list, and we're going to open the scene list and we're going to add open scenes, and that's going to add basic scene to the scene list of scenes that are going to get compiled and added to the headset. And then what we're going to do is we're going to uncheck sample scene so that only basic scene is going to the headset once we build it. From there, what we're going to do is we're just going to click out of this. We're going to go back into our build profiles to make sure that it got saved. So we'll go to Android, and you can see we can't edit it anymore, but sample scene is unchecked and basic scene is checked. So we're going to press X, Control S, and then I'm going to plug in my headset and then click build and run just like we did last time. Alright, so after plugging in your headset, hitting build and run and putting it on your headset, let's get into the app and try out our new software. So I'm going to put my headset on now, and just like before, what we're going to do is we're going to come into our menu here, we're going to open our waffle, we're going to come over here to unknown sources, and we're going to open up our VR demo test. And it'll take a minute to open, and once we're in, we'll see we're here in this big flat pane. We can move around with the right stick, and we can look with the left movement on the right stick. And I had to replace the cat with this lovely box here because the cat was actually too high resolution. So you want to make sure that when you are putting in a model, it is not too high resolution, otherwise it might just make the software crash when you launch it. So I had to swap it out for this lower resolution model, but it is functionally the same. I did the exact same steps that we did before. It's just a box now. And how I can interact with it is if I look at it, you can see this little yellow thing starts being yellow instead of gray. And I can press this button here, this side button, to grab it and pick it up. And you can see there's a little line between it, and I can move it around. And I can use my right stick to pull it towards me, push it away, turn it the other way. And when I want to let go, I can just let go of that grip button on the side and it falls to the ground. And what's cool is I can just pick it up and throw it into the air. And with our new rigid body, you can see it falls fairly realistically. So, assuming that your setup has a similar, looks the same as what just happened there, you should be good to go. Alrighty. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that helped.